Reed Richards is a scientist, while his friend Ben Grimm is a spacecraft pilot. They want to conduct research in space. However, they lack the funds for the project. The two of them decide to approach Victor Von Doom, their school friend who is now a successful entrepreneur. Upon meeting Victor, Reed immediately presents about cosmic storms, suspected as triggers for the evolution of early life on Earth. Reed mentions there will be another cosmic storm, with the same elemental composition, passing Earth's orbit in about 6 weeks. Reed asks Victor to fund the cosmic storm research in space. With this research, they hope to find a cure for all kinds of diseases and extend human life. Victor is interested in this explanation. Reed says they can conduct the research at Victor's space station because it has advanced security systems. There, they have sophisticated security. Suddenly, a girl named Susan Storm arrives. She is Reed's ex-girlfriend and currently the director of genetic research at Victor's company. Also Victor's girlfriend. Victor is willing to help, but he requests 75% of the profits from any products created. With no other choice, Reed, in need of funding, agrees. Susan then informs them that her brother, Joni, will be the astronaut for this mission. Hearing this, Ben disagrees because he used to be Joni's superior. Reed tries to persuade Ben to accept. Emphasizing their need for funding, Ben eventually agrees to be the co-pilot. In the midst of preparations for the space journey, Joni plays a prank on Ben. Ben tries not to get angry in dealing with Joni. Susan then explains that the uniforms they wear are made of synthetic material that functions like a second skin. The suit can adapt to the wearer's body temperature. They finally arrive at Victor's space station. The cosmic storm is expected to arrive in 9 hours. They head to the control room to monitor the incoming cosmic storm. There, they will be safe because the station has a shield to protect them. Ben is assigned to go outside the station to collect samples, while it's still safe. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Victor opens the station's shield because he wants to show Susan the beauty of outer space. Here, Victor intends to propose to Susan. Reed is then shocked as the computer indicates that a cosmic storm is approaching in 9 minutes, much faster than anticipated. Reed informs the others to quickly bring in Ben, who is still outside the spacecraft. Victor urges Reed to move quickly before he closes the shield. Outside, the cosmic storm is already in front of Ben. Joni tells Ben to jump so he can quickly enter the station. Elsewhere, without waiting for Ben, Victor immediately closes the shield. Susan tries to stop him, but is too late. Susan rushes to inform the others. Meanwhile, Ben manages to get inside the station, but suddenly he is pushed by the cosmic storm, breaking in. Ben loses consciousness. The cosmic storm then hits Reed, Joni, Susan, and Victor. In short, Reed and the others safely return to Earth. They are quarantined at Victor's hospital. Fortunately, there are no signs of harm from exposure to radiation from the cosmic storm. Due to the failure of this space project, Victor's company's stock plummets. Ned, one of the investors, gives Victor 1 week to recover. If not, the investors will oust Victor from his own company. At the hospital, Joni intends to go out to play ski, but a nurse stops him. Joni says he's fine. Before leaving, the nurse checks Joni's body temperature. The nurse is surprised to see Joni's body temperature is extremely high. Strangely, there are no signs of illness in Joni. Excited, Joni finally goes out to play ski. At first, everything goes smoothly, but suddenly, flames erupt from Joni's body. Joni is shocked. His body catches fire, flies, then crashes into a pile of snow. Elsewhere, Victor's secretary, Leonardo, reports that Victor's stock price has been steadily declining since the space project failure. Victor ignores it. He instead focuses on his injured face. Victor also feels something unusual in his body. Since being exposed to the cosmic storm, Leonardo advises Victor to rest. but Victor insists that he's fine. At the hospital, while having dinner with Susan and Reed, Ben feels unwell. He excuses himself to rest. Now it's Susan and Reed. Reed apologizes for not being a good partner to Susan in the past. Susan lets out her emotions, saying Reed was too busy with his research back then. Suddenly, Susan becomes invisible. She accidentally knocks over a wine bottle, and Reed catches it with his elongated hand. They both are surprised by this development. Reed's hand returns to its normal size, and Susan's body gradually becomes visible again. Joni then arrives without wearing clothes, telling the story of what happened to him while skiing. I'll swear, Victor's hair starts falling out. The electric currents around him also appear strange. At the hospital, Susan suggests that the changes in their bodies are a result of the cosmic storm that hit them earlier. The storm has altered their DNA. Here, Joni proudly shows that his fingers can produce fire. They then intend to meet Ben to discuss this matter. In his room, Ben feels unwell. His heart rate increases dramatically. Suddenly, the bed Ben is on collapses. Outside the room, Reed tries to call Ben, but there's no response. The door is locked from the inside. Reed then puts his hand through the door crack. The hand elongates and successfully opens the door. Turns out the room is empty. They then see a hole in the wall. A few moments later, Victor comes to check the situation. Susan asks about Victor's condition as he was also exposed to the cosmic storm. Victor says he only suffered minor scratches. Reed intends to go look for Ben, knowing that Ben must have gone to meet his wife, Debbie, on the streets. It turns out Ben's body has transformed into a giant stone man. He uses a payphone to call Debbie and asks her to come out. Debbie comes to meet him. Ben hopes Debbie will still accept him as he is now. However, Debbie's reaction saddens Ben. Debbie runs away in fear at the sight of Ben's terrifying appearance. The next day, Ben contemplates suicide on the bridge. Suddenly, a man next to him also contemplates suicide. However, the man becomes frightened at the sight of Ben's face. Ben tries to calm the man, but he becomes even more terrified. Finally, the man decides to come down to the street. Ben follows suit. Suddenly, a large truck approaches them. Ben manages to stop the truck. However, this causes a chain reaction of accidents and traffic jams. Reed, Susan, and Joni, who have just arrived, realize that it's Ben's doing. They couldn't break through the crowd because the road was blocked by the police. Reed instructs Susan to make herself invisible so they can pass through the police line. Ahead, Ben tries to save the trapped truck driver, but the police mistake Ben for a criminal. They point their guns at Ben. After helping the truck driver, Ben quickly flees. Susan, Reed, and Joni eventually find Ben. They then spot a small child trapped among cars. Nearby, there's a gas cylinder ready to explode. Joni hugs the child. A massive explosion occurs. Luckily, the girl survives as Joni shields her. Here, Susan realizes she can create a shield. A fire truck swerves and almost falls off the bridge. Ben arrives and prevents the truck from falling. A firefighter appears to fall, and Reed quickly catches him with his elongated hand. Ben successfully pulls the fire truck back. Everyone, including the firefighters, applauds Ben as a sign of gratitude. However, in the crowd, Ben sees Debbie throwing away their wedding ring. Observing this, Reed feels sorrow for his friend, abandoned by his wife due to his altered appearance. Reed promises to find a way to restore Ben to his original self. I'll swear, Ned and the investors finally oust Victor from his own company. Victor attempts to negotiate, but Ned ignores him. Meanwhile, Reed invites his friends to his laboratory. Here, Reed plans to conduct research to find a way for them to return to normal. Victor then arrives to pick up Susan. However, Susan refuses, stating she will help Reed find a cure. Reed apologizes to Victor for the failed mission. Victor becomes angry, claiming the mission not only failed, but also ruined the lives of 4 people. Suddenly, The electricity around them becomes unstable if responding to Victor's anger. Before leaving, Victor urges Reed to create a device to return them to normal. In the elevator, Victor pounds the walls, surprised by his newfound strength that dents the walls. Inside the laboratory, Reed and Susan immediately conduct a series of tests. Reed examines their internal organs. They discover that Johnny's body temperature, when ignited, can approach the temperature of the sun or a supernova. Susan can create a shield by focusing her emotions. They all must learn to control their powers for their own safety and the safety of others. Elsewhere, Victor consults a doctor about his condition. The doctor states that Victor's entire body is undergoing a transformation. The doctor speculates that Victor's body will transform into a kind of organic metal alloy, a metal stronger than titanium or carbon steel, and harder than diamond. Within 3 weeks, Victor's entire body will transform into metal. The doctor plans to report this to the government. The doctor fears that the disease Victor is experiencing could be contagious. Victor disagrees because if everyone knows about his condition, his life will be ruined and he will lose everything. However, the doctor insists on reporting this. Angry, Victor ultimately kills the doctor. Inside the laboratory, Reed distributes advanced costumes that can merge with their skin. Ben then asks how Reed plans to cure them. Reed explains that he's working on creating a machine to recreate the cosmic storm. This machine will be able to restore them to their original state. Reed still has to perfect this machine, because if there's a miscalculation, it could make their condition worse, or even kill them. Elsewhere, Victor feels bankrupt. His company is taken over by Ned and the investors. Moreover, Victor's physical condition worsens. Victor's hands appear to be turning into metal. Victor realizes he can absorb electrical energy from his surroundings. Filled with rage, Victor then confronts Ned in the parking lot. Ruthlessly, Victor pierces Ned's chest with his electrical power. When the laboratory is empty, Victor invites Ben into Reed's laboratory. Victor tells Ben to enter the cosmic machine because he has found a way to restore Ben's body. Victor says he just wants to help Ben return to normal. The machine will succeed if it gets enough electricity to reach maximum power. Ben then enters the machine. Victor starts up the machine. Victor opens the machine's generator and uses his electric power to add energy to the machine. From a distance, Joni sees a strange light from the laboratory. Joni rushes towards it. Inside the laboratory, Ben finally returns to his normal body. But now, the appearance of Victor's body is changing into metal. Seeing this, Ben tells Victor to enter the machine so he can be healed too. But it turns out Victor doesn't want to be healed. He is happy to have superpowers to dominate the world. Victor then hits Ben until he faints. Hearing the commotion, Reed then appears from upstairs. His body still looks weak. Victor easily defeats Reed. Victor attacks Reed until he falls from the building. Reed can't hold on because his body is not yet normal. Victor then takes Reed into his office. In the laboratory, Susan, who has just arrived, is happy to see Ben back to normal. Ben then tells Susan and Johnny about Victor kidnapping Reed. Elsewhere, Victor uses a cooling machine to freeze Reed's body. Victor then fires a missile targeting heat. Seeing a missile coming towards him, Johnny decides to jump from the roof. It turns out Johnny can fly. He flies through building after building to avoid the missile. Ben wants to help Reed, but with his current condition, Susan tells Ben not to get involved. Outside, Johnny ignites a pile of garbage in the ocean. The bullets hit the garbage. Seeing this, Victor assumes Johnny is dead. Susan tries to help Reed with her invisible body, but Victor senses it. Susan then asks Victor to stop his wrongdoing. Susan urges Victor to return to normal with the cosmic machine, but Victor refuses. Victor doesn't want to lose his powers. Susan tries to resist. Susan disappears, but Victor can still find her. Reed and Susan are cornered and suddenly Ben arrives. With the cosmic machine, he transforms back into a monster. Ben immediately attacks Victor. As Ben and Susan help Reed, Victor suddenly rises and attacks them. They free fall from the top of the building to the street below. The police arrive and shoot at Victor. However, it's in vain as Victor's body is bulletproof. Ben then throws a car at Victor, but nothing happens. Victor hits Ben with iron. When Victor is about to stab Ben, Reed manages to hold him back. Susan uses her shield to protect Ben. Johnny then joins the fight. Seeing this, Victor immediately absorbs the electrical energy around him. He attacks them with electric plasma shots. Reed then wraps Victor with his flexible body. Reed instructs Johnny to burn Victor with his supernova power. Ben then pulls Reed away. At that moment, Johnny creates a supernova ring to burn Victor's body. With Susan's shield, they contain the fire to avoid harming the surroundings. Johnny, exhausted, stops. But Victor still appears alive, even though his body is melting. Reed immediately tells Ben to spray water towards Victor. Victor's hot metal body cools down instantly, turning into a statue. Finally, Victor is defeated. The next day, the public celebrates the Fantastic for saving them. Ben finally makes peace with his condition. Ben even meets his new love, a blind woman named Alicia. The Fantastic Four embrace their destiny as Earth's protectors. Elsewhere, Leonardo takes the Doom statue to his home country, Latveria. Suddenly, a cargo officer's computer malfunctions. It turns out, despite being turned into a Doom statue, he's still alive, and the Fantastic Four movie ends.